Okay, this is question number 3 from Friday's packet. And so there's this cable company, and it's selling some cable that's $120 per meter. So let's just mark that. That's here. Oop, it's a little dark. And when you buy a cable that's a fixed length, the cost of making this cable will vary based on how long it is. Okay, so the cost to produce any portion of a cable is going to be this, 6 radical X dollars per meter. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do is we need to find their profit on a sale of a 25 meter cable. So if the cable is 25 meters long and they charge $120 for each meter, then they're going to make $3,000. So $3,000 was made. Okay, but we have to figure out their profit. So that's how much they made, but how much did it cost to produce it? So to produce it would have been the integral from 0 to 25, because it's 25 meters, of 6 radical x dx. Okay, and this would, in all likelihood, be a non-calculator question, so I'm going to do it like that. So this would be, let's just simplify this a little bit. We would write it as 6x to the 1/2 dx. And then if we do the antiderivative, we get 6x, 1/2 plus 2/2 is 3/2, divided by 3/2, which is the same thing as multiplying by 2/3, as it goes from 0 to 25. Okay, make some room. Okay, so 3 will go into 6 twice, and we end up with 4 radical x to the 3rd as it goes from 0 to 25. So we're going to put 25 in there first. And then when we subtract, what happens when we put 0 in there? There's nothing there, so we just leave it. Okay, and then this is going to be 4 times 5 to the 3rd power. That's equal to 4 times 125, which is equal to 500. Okay, so $500 is how much it cost to produce it. So before I erased it, we said that they're going to make $3,000, but then they had to spend $500 to produce it, so that means that their profit was $2,500. Okay, so how did we get points? This answer is worth 1 point, and the original integral that we did that was from 0 to 25 of 6 radical x dx, that would have got, oh, this is 25. This would have gotten you 1 more point. Okay, so it was worth 2 points altogether. Okay, so now we're up to part B, and it's saying using correct units, so that means our answer at the end better have meters in it. Explain what this thing means. So you're going to write, we don't actually have to do any calculations here, is the change in cost from 25 to 30 meters. Okay, that's all you had to do, and that was worth 1 point. And the reason why this is the answer is because if you look right here, this 25 to 30 means you have this cable, and we're just interested in what's happening from 25 to 30. That's all. Okay, now for part C. We have to write an expression, that means we don't have to solve anything, involving an integral, so you better have an integral in there, that represents their profit on some cable that's k meters long. So it's just abstract. We don't know how long it is. Okay, so what is going to be their profit? Okay, so it's $120 for each meter. So we have k meters. So this is going to be the money that they earn. Okay, and then the cost for them to produce it, so to produce it is going to equal the integral from 0 to k, whatever k is, of 6 radical x dx. That's what we used before. So what is their profit? It's going to be 120k, that's how much they earned, minus how much it cost for them to produce it. And this would be their profit. Okay, so how did you get points for this? If you just did, let me get a different color. So if you just did this, you got 1 point. And then if you did this whole thing, that was another point. So altogether that was worth 2 points. Okay, and finally the last part is we have to find the maximum profit. So that means that we're going to have to find P prime and set it equal to 0. That is our goal. Okay, so what is P prime? Okay, so let's think about this. So the money that they make is going to be 120 times X. So let's just look at the profit. Minus, well, let me take this out. Minus the integral of something of 6 radical x dx. Okay, so what is the derivative? Well, the derivative of 120x is just going to be 120. Minus, now what's the derivative of this? Well, isn't 6 radical x already the derivative? Because when we have an integral, it means to do the antiderivative. So 6 radical x is already the derivative. Okay, so that's our derivative. We're going to set that equal to 0. Okay, let's make everything positive. Divide both sides by 6. Square both sides. And we get x equals 400. So they will get their maximum profit when x, the length of the cable, is 400. Okay, but if you go back to the question, it says find the maximum profit. So we know the maximum profit will occur when x equals 400, but what will the maximum profit be? That's what we have to find. But even if you only got that far, you'd still get some points, and I'll go over that at the end. Okay, so 400 is the magic number. Okay, so the profit is going to be 120x. Well, actually, I'm going to change this to k, and I'll explain why in a second. 120k minus, so we already did this in the previous part. This would be your profit. Okay, and k would equal however long that cable is, and we have already decided that's going to be 400. So we're going to get 120 times 400. That's how much we'll make, minus how much it costs for us to produce it. And the reason why I changed it from x to k is because there's an x in our integral, and these two x's are represent two different things. Okay, and then if you solve this, you will end up getting $16,000. Okay, so where do your point values come from? If you set P prime of k equal to 0, that was 1 point. If you found that k equals 400, that's 1 point. If you got 16,000, that's 1 point. And your justification, which will be this whole thing and solved, that would be 1 point. And that finishes question number 3.